Do you think it's possible that the Broncos offense could be boring?
That's a great point, and I was thinking about that while Troy was talking.
I was going to ask you about
It will
that.
be more boring than it has been the last couple of years. Yes.
Do you
They will
prefer-
run the ball more.
Okay. Do you prefer the team that set all the NFL records 2 years ago, got to the Super Bowl last? You would prefer a boring team and think that it has a chance to do better than that team in the end?
You're asking me if I would prefer more boring football and win a Super Bowl versus
No.
exciting football and only get to the Super Bowl?
Are you okay with a boring football team as long as it wins? I
Yeah.
got to ask yesterday.
Well, personally, I love the passing game so much. 2 years ago was so much fun to watch, week in and week out.
That's what I'm
and I felt if they were a better prepared team, and I blame the coaching staff quite a bit for this.
Oh,
If
totally.
they were a better prepared team, they could have won the Super Bowl in that fashion.
I blame John Fox.
Well,
John Fox didn't even realize it wasn't going to be a neutral crowd.
yeah, I know it. Unbelievable.
I mean, that one moment showed me that John Fox, as much as I liked him, I really liked him.
I liked him too.
I really like him. He's a man's man. I mean, he's a guy you want to go have a beer with. He was clueless about the Super Bowl. That's why he's never won a Super Bowl. And he was. He's totally clueless. I think, I'm going into the weeds, I think John Fox is going to be awful in Chicago.
He'll be a little better than Mark Trestman, but he's not going to get them to the Super Bowl. He's not. But back to the question about a boring
Here's what
offense.
I predict. They will replace him with Adam Gase within 2 years.
Could be.
Adam Gase is going to be the coach there.
Let's ask everybody else. I mean, tweet us, Facebook us. Would you be happier with a more boring offense if it meant a team that was highly successful?
Yeah, and
See, I think
I
you
know
can-
that's
I think
kind of
there
a
are other
goofy
ways to
question.
skin a cat.
I
Yeah.
once asked people at the Rockies games, people who worked there, a lot of people who were ushers, and I said to them, was it worth it to have one World Series team and be crappy for 9-10 years? You know what the response was overall?
Yes. Yeah.
That's kind of sad, I thought. The people would, okay, well, you had that 1 year, so it's okay to be crappy for a bunch of years. Wouldn't you rather be kind of good
But
for
the
a bunch
Broncos
of
are,
years?
but the Broncos aren't crappy every year.
I'm not saying that.
I mean,
I'm just saying that I wonder if you're not living and dying with the Broncos. I always like entertainment. That's why I like Chip Kelly and what he's doing in
Well, then you
Philadelphia.
must have loved 2 years ago with the Broncos when they
I
were
would
setting
like
all
to-
those records.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
That was one of my 2 or 3 favorite years that I've been
Mine
covering
too.
the Broncos for what, 40 years?
Yeah.
Well,
And
more
me,
than 40
31.
years. That was the most fun I ever had.
Yeah.
And other than 77. And guess what? 77
Well, how
was,
about 98 and 99? I mean, those were good offensive and
sure, but 77 would be second to me. And what's funny about that is that defense was really entertaining.
in 77.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The offense wasn't much.
Orange Crush.
The defense was entertaining. So where I come to with that is what Troy, when I asked Troy the question, I was going there and I would say to you, could the defense be entertaining? And I'm going to finish with
Yes.
a quote from a famous person who we mentioned on this show 15 times already today. When John Elway took over the Broncos, he told me on the phone before he took the job that his goal was to keep in mind Peyton Manning is coming along and all that. When he took over the job, he said his job was to make people in the stands really get up and get loud again. And I said, oh, how do you plan to do that? He said, with defense. He said, you know what people get excited about? Turnovers, pass deflections, run backs.
Interceptions, run back
He
for
said
TDs.
people,
yeah.
now keep this in mind, and the context, because 2 years ago, John Elway never could have believed that Peyton Manning would end up here and set all the records 2 years ago. But John Elway's intent remains to have a great defense to he thinks the defense actually turns the crowd on, turns the fans on
Well,
in Denver.
who was his first draft pick ever? Von Miller. Who was the draft pick this year? Shane Ray.
Where
a
has
pass
he spent
rusher.
most of his free agent dollars?
Yep.
On
defense, yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders is one of the few.
See,
Louis
and you
Vasquez.
brought it up. People aren't talking about it. I've done commentaries on it. The Shane Ray draft pick told me everything I need to know about what John Elway wants to do with this team, and I think they're going to be a really, really good defense this year, and it will take pressure off Peyton and the fact that now they don't have their starting left tackle. I think it's going to work real well.
Well, and Troy said he thought they'd win 2 or 3 games without much help from
That would be a
the
change,
offense.
wouldn't it?
And so I guess we should, and everybody should think about this. We're not talking much about it. This is a team that could be playing 17 to 14 games and 24 to 14 games.
I don't know if they'll be that low scoring, but we're not going to see 35 points on the average every Sunday.
You don't think so?
No.
I just said it could possibly happen. That it's.
Yeah.
How many games? Because I get asked this every day, 10 times a day. A guy on the elevator just asked me. He said, "Don't you get tired of talking about sports?" I said, "Do you get tired of getting up in the morning?" I mean, it's what we do. I mean, you and I talk, and you get it as much as I do. How many games are the Broncos going to win? Before we get to anything else, how many Broncos?
You're asking me?
Today. Brian Clady's out of the lineup. We just talked about it. Yeah. Well,
Minimum 12-4.
Really? I tell people 11. I think that's a tougher schedule than you obviously think.
Yeah.
12?
Yep.
11.
That's what Peyton Manning does.
Dollar.
This segment sponsored by John Elway Cadillac at Park Meadows. It's Colorado's #1 Cadillac dealer.